This is Ms. Mullins, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of Math with Mullins. Today we're going to be looking at our lesson 6.4, zero and negative exponents, so we'll be able to use them. So let's go ahead and dig in with 6.4, day 1. The first thing we want to see is zero and negative exponents. So zero exponents just means any number to the zero power equal 1. Doesn't matter what number it is, 15 to the zero power equals 1, or even x to the zero power always equals 1. The next thing we want to see are negative exponents. Negative exponents just mean if I want my exponent to be positive, I'm going to have to put it in the opposite placement as we think about a fraction. So for instance, a to the negative m, in order to make that positive, has to go below the fraction line, because right now technically a is a numerator, so it'd have to go to the denominator. And the vice versa, if it's in the denominator, like 1 over a to the negative m, we're going to get a to the m, and that'd just be in the numerator's position. So for instance, if I have 3 to the negative third, that would look like, as a positive exponent, 1 over 3 to the positive third. Or if I had 1 over 4 to the negative second, to replace that, it would be 4 to the second. Take a time now to pause this video and write down a few examples, and when you're ready, click play, and we'll try some examples together. So what we have now is evaluate each expression, and we're going to make sure we have no negative exponents. So get rid of negatives. So the first one, I'm noticing that I have 3 over negative 4. And when I start with these, I always just put, if there's no over 1, I go ahead and put that over 1 value. To make this a positive exponent, I have to take 3 negative fourth and put it down here at the bottom. And since there's nothing else on top, that can now just keep a 1 up there. 1 and 3 to the fourth, that'd just be 1, or 9 to the second, which would be 1 over 81. Next up, I have 2 numbers here. Again, I don't have anything on the bottom, so I'll go and write my 1 on the bottom. And in order to get my 1 negative exponent on the bottom, I can do 2 things. I'm going to move it down, so that means it would change to this. Negative 8.5 to the positive fourth would be on top, but now negative 8.5 to the negative fourth becomes positive 4. Then we would do our quotient of powers. This just means we're going to subtract our 2 exponents. 4 minus 4 is 0, so now I'm left with negative 8.5 to the 0 power, and that is equal to just 1, just like we saw up here. One other thing you could have done is just focus on your 2 exponents here. Since we have the same base, I could have just added my 2 exponents. A negative 4 plus 4 still gives me an exponent of 0. So negative 8.5 to the 0 power would still give me a 1. So that is another way we can try it there. Why don't you take time now and pause the video here and see what you come up with as your answers. Remember, there's lots of different ways to try these. Once you've tried it, click play to check your work. All right, what I would do here first is I would subtract. I would do 6 minus 8, and I would get 2 to the negative second power. Then I need to release that negative exponent and put it on the bottom. So I'd get 1 over 2 to the second power, which reduces to 1/4. 4 over 4 to the negative second power can be made into 1 over 4 to the second power, which then is evaluated as 1 over 16. Here's a few more. Again, let's pause the video here, try these on your own, and when you're ready to check it, click play. Again, for this first one, to change my negative exponent to positive, it just needs to go here on the bottom. So negative 2 to the positive 5th power, that's going to create 1 over negative 32, because if we take our calculator and multiply negative 2 by itself 5 times, we're going to get 32, but since it's an odd number, I get a negative, so you could say negative or 1 over negative 32, or just negative 1/32. And then here, noticing I have the same base, I just added my exponents together. Negative 8 and positive 8 gives me 0, and 6 to the 0 power is equal to 1. You could have also moved it, that negative 8 to the bottom. Still subtracting gives you 6 to the 0 power, which still gives you 1. Let's try these now. Now we've gotten a little bit more examples here. Let's see what we come up with. For these, since I have the same base, I can subtract my exponent, so I get negative 3 to the negative 1st power, and then to create that positive exponent, I'm going to put it on the bottom, negative 3, parentheses to the 1st power, and that's just going to evaluate to 1 over negative 3, or negative 1/3. Over on this side, I'm noticing that I have a negative exponent, so I'm going to move that one right away and pull it up on the top. So now I have this 1 over 5 to the 7th power, and then 5 to the 4th power over 1. That's going to simplify to 5 to the 4th power over 5 to the 7th power. Then I'm going to subtract my 2 exponents here because this is quotient of powers. I'm going to get 5 to the negative 3rd. Then to make this a positive, I would make the 5 to the 3rd be on the bottom, and then evaluating it. 5 to the 3rd, or 5 cubed, is 125. Next up for this one, I'm going to take care of my 2 exponents on the top here. 4 to the 5th times 4 to the negative 3rd, that is your multiplication property where you can add your exponents. So 5 plus negative 3 is 2. So on the top I'll have 4 to the 2nd, on the bottom I have 4 to the 2nd. And those can simplify either, we know 4 to the 2nd is 16 over 16, which is equal to 1, or you could subtract your exponents, get 4 to the 0 power, also equaling 1. Okay? Simplify each expression only using positive exponents. So now we're just going to keep our answers in exponent form, but simplifying as much as we can. This first one I see here, noticing the x to the 0 power, that's going to automatically make it a 1, and negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Up next on this side, I have 2 y's that are in common, so what I can do is make this y to the 3rd power on the bottom. So I'll have 9 over y to the 5th, y to the 3rd, and then I would just add my 2 y's together to make it 9 over y to the 8th power. Okay? And then for this one, I have a negative 2, but that's only going to the x, so that just needs to make it where 8 is on the top and x to the positive 2nd can now be on the bottom. And here's a few more before we end our lesson today. Again, with our 0 exponent, this is just equal to 1 times b to the negative 10th. b to the negative 10th could actually go on the bottom to make it a positive number, so I have 1 over b to the 10th. For these two, I'm going to subtract my 2 exponents. 6 minus 9 is a negative 3, so I'll have z to the negative 3 on top, 15 on bottom, and then this z to the negative 3 can be positive if I put it on the bottom with 15, so now this one is just going to be 1 over 15 z to the positive 3rd. Our last one, I can't simplify x's and y's together by subtracting, but what I could do is make x be on the denominator and y be on the numerator to positive my exponent, so I'm going to get y to the 6th on the top and x to the 4th on the bottom. That's going to conclude our lesson today for day 1 of 0 and negative exponents. Hopefully this video helped you, and make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for some more math videos later on. Have a great day.